Okay, next, First City Council, Successor Agency, Housing Authority, public comments on unscheduled matters. Do we have any requests to speak?
We have several requests to speak.
Okay.
First is Michelle Johnson.
Okay. Welcome.
Mayor Canine and council members, my name is Michelle Johnson. I'm from Irvine. My background is in corporate banking, finance, real estate, and I was a managing director at a major investment bank with 30 years of experience. I also served as a planning commissioner in Irvine. I'm here tonight to speak against the City of Fountain Valley joining the Orange County Power Authority. I want to highlight the increased risk profile of OCPA, higher costs for the city and ratepayers, and the potential for future liabilities that your own residents will be forced to take on. OCPA losses are accelerating. At fiscal 26, OCPA expects to lose a total of $45 million over the prior 18 months. They've supported their ongoing operating losses by depleting their reserves, which went from $90 million to a now projected $42 million by December 26. In the first 3 months alone of fiscal 26, they lost $15 million. That's a burn rate of $5 million a month. AB 205 passed in 2022 and became effective November of this year, reducing the price of electricity for all customers of Edison. The 12 to 16% disparity in rates between OCPA and Edison means the annualized increase for Irvine residents is $23.5 million this year, and Fountain Valley's residents would pay an additional $4.4 million. Edison's residential generation rates last year did not change until October, and AB 205 dictated Edison's rate increases and timing to once a year over the next 2 years. Fountain Valley would be the smallest member of OCPA. Just one vote on the board and you would not be able to block OCPA rate increases, which are effective almost immediately. The JPA agreement is one of only 3 in the state that put the liability to the maximum extent possible onto your ratepayers. Western Community in Riverside was one of those CCAs. In 2021, they went bankrupt, and the judge discharged the shortfall of $6 million onto the ratepayers' electricity bills. The council has a fiduciary duty to your residents to perform due diligence before entering into any agreement with OCPA. The city of Long Beach spent over $350,000 studying the CCA industry over several years and decided not to join any CCA, including OCPA. Long Beach stated it best when they said, when you're a CCA and you're buying a commodity, your investors, unfortunately, are your residents. And unbeknownst to them, they're taking on a piece of risk in the energy market. Joining OCPA means you are becoming an energy trader with all the attendant risks. Do your residents know that you, the City Council, will be taking the choice away from them when you opt them out of SCE and assign them to a default energy tier of OCPA that costs 12 to 16% more than what they are paying now? Please consider scheduling a special study session on OCPA as soon as possible to discuss these rising risks. Thank you, and I've left some materials for each council member.
Harvey Liss.
Welcome.
Mayor and council members, I'm going to speak some truths about the Orange County Power Authority, or OCPA, that's scheduled to begin providing electrical service to the city in October 2026, so there's still time to get out. I'm Harvey Liss, a longtime resident of Irvine and a licensed professional civil engineer who has been following the OCPA tragedy in Irvine since its beginning in 2022. First, and most importantly, and the key to the puzzle, is that renewably generated electric power is now much cheaper than fossil fuel generated electrical power. So the investor-owned public utilities like Southern Cal Edison, who are highly motivated to minimize their costs, purchase as much renewably generated power as possible. And all of SCE's energy traders are employees, all motivated to minimize costs, whereas OCPA's energy traders are all highly paid consultants who have no such motivation to minimize costs. So OCPA can never compete with SCE in obtaining renewably generated energy contracts. For my example, I opted out of OCPA immediately in 2022 and enrolled in SCE's 100% renewables program. And ever since, I've been getting a discount that reached 19% of the entire bill in August 2025, and I have the bill here if anybody wants to look at it. At the same time, OCPA has been charging a significant premium for their fake 100% renewables program. Currently, SCE is not accepting more enrollees into their 50% or 100% renewables programs because those purchase contracts are not available. Why? Because the electricity grid is saturated with 100% renewably generated electricity during the day. If SCE cannot purchase more renewably generated power, how can OCPA? Obviously, they are not. OCPA's recently published power content label shows that OCPA's greenhouse gas emissions are over 80% higher than SCE's at basic choice and at a higher cost. So OCPA is purchasing dirty energy. And when promoters of OCPA claimed that OCPA was charging 3% less for the basic right than SCE, that was very misleading because the 3% discount was only for the generated portion of the bill, which is only 40% of the entire bill. So the actual discount was only 1.2%. Why were community choice aggregators like OCPA created? Years ago, renewably generated energy was more expensive than fossil fuel generated electric power, so the investor-owned utilities were motivated to purchase fossil fuel contracts. For ratepayers who wanted to reduce global warming, the CCAs were created to give ratepayers the option to pay higher prices for the more expensive renewably generated energy. That reason no longer exists. Over the past 3 years, Irvine ratepayers who did not opt out of OCPA due to being misled by OCPA's advertising have thrown away probably more than $50 million that could have been used
Harvey,
to
your
subsidize
time's up.
solar panels. Thank you.
Mike Rao.
Welcome.
Good evening, I'm Mike. I brought a handout for you that shows data from the website of the Orange County Power Authority. You should have a copy with a green stripe in front of you right now. The handout shows examples of the rate hikes they plan for 2026. No more discounts. Now OCPA will charge 12 to 16% more than SCE's total bill. An average resident under OCPA would pay $20 per month more than they would to SCE, and businesses too will be harmed. The example shows that under OCPA, businesses would pay $30 per month more than to SCE for an example commercial bill. Your Fountain Valley City municipal bill is about $2 million per year. Under OCPA, the city would pay $240,000 more than to SCE. OCPA has projected revenues of over $30 million per year from all of Fountain Valley. 12% is $3.5 million more per year than OCPA will cost Fountain Valley. $3.5 million more than to SCE. OCPA's new rate policy will financially harm the entire city. Don't be deceived by OCPA. Their sponsorships, grants, and giveaways were far less than 1% of their revenue last year. I urge the City Council to exit OCPA as soon as possible to protect your ratepayers. Thank you.
Vicki Johnson.
Welcome.
Hi, good evening, City Council, Mayor, and Vice Mayor. I'm Vicki Johnson. I recommend that the City Council vote to exit OCPA as soon as possible. And I have a handout with a red stripe that shows the cities that exited OCPA. 3 of the founders of OCPA, Lake Forest in 2021, the County of Orange in 2022, and Huntington Beach in 23-24, they all exited OCPA. So that just left 3 cities, Irvine, Fullerton, and Buena Park. So the handout just briefly describes a few of the reasons why those cities exited. OCPA goes around to cities all the time, but only Fountain Valley has joined. In 2024, as when you joined, but since then, OCPA has really gone downhill. They've lost 45 million, half their reserves. They had higher emissions, as was said earlier. Now OCPA has decided they're going to stabilize their rates so that OCPA will cost 12 to 16% more than SCE. A county supervisor said, Christine Fuller, when the county exited OCPA, that there seems to be a systemic problems with OCPA that can't be fixed. There seem to be systemic problems with OCPA that can't be fixed. Now, OCPA is planning to start up in Fountain Valley in October, right before the elections. More people will be paying attention. Won't a lot of residents and businesses come and ask, how'd the city council force all of us into OCPA? Who voted for OCPA? I followed OCPA for 4 years. It looks to me like OCPA is a sinking ship. Exit as soon as possible to protect Fountain Valley and mitigate the liabilities. Thank you.
Bill Spear.
Welcome.
Good evening. I just want a couple issues real quick, but I want to thank you guys for coming around on the charter issue. I think, a lot of public input kind of drove that change. After hearing the story, I think it was Bell. They did a lot of work up front with the community to make sure that everybody was on board. We as the community have been asking all along for us to lay out a plan on what and why and the benefits for this. And we missed those steps, which would have got a lot of buy-in. Like, I think what Glenn said is, if there's a good reason to do this, we're all going to support it, but you have to show us why. Patrick and Jim, I think you went along with Ted in spite of us asking for details. You guys should have been asking for details just like us, okay? Why? We're glad we came around and we're moving it to target the next election down the road, but I think we missed a critical action in this point. We're going to do a survey, but we still don't know what and why. So we're going to go out for a survey and say, are you in support of a charter? Why? The consultant's not going to be able to generate what and why. That's the hard work that needs to be done by the community to come up and say, what are the parts of a general law city that we want to change and take advantage of? What are the benefits and what are the risks? And then you can go out with the survey and ask reasonable questions to the community. But without that, you're just going to say, are you in support of charter, yes or no? That's kind of where we're at. And the consultant can't make that up. He doesn't know why or what. So I think you still got some work to do on that. The other issue I was a little disappointed was kind of the attack that went on up on the dais up there, and I think we're better than that. That's pretty petty crap, to be honest. And I think you guys should hold yourself, all of you, accountable for that kind of stuff, because that's unacceptable. The next thing I'm going to see is people throwing shoes up there, which is absurd. We can disagree and we can have conversations about stuff, but being petty about that stuff, you guys need to hold yourself to a much higher standard than that. And the third thing, which I'm just going to bring up because it just came up, but this OCPA thing, it's come up at a couple of meetings, and it's making me nervous that we don't have a plan here. I know you can opt out, but if this thing is going down like the Titanic, you guys need to step up and at least tell us what's going on and whether there is an issue or not, because this is the second meeting I've heard this thing come up. Thank you for your time.
Ben Nielsen.
I guess I'm not up here on the hot topics, but I have an item that has bothered me for over 6 months now. Late 2025, I noticed on the agenda a closed session item, negotiation to purchase property on Newland Street in Fountain Valley. I inquired with Colin at the time under Freedom of Information what the purpose of that purchase was. And he advised me that he could not divulge that yet, but the council would be advising the community at some time. Earlier this year, again, it appeared back on the closed session, negotiate for real estate on New Hope Avenue. Again, I inquired with Colin. He said, well, didn't you know that the council was given a public summary of what this was about prior to the closed session? I asked him if I could see if I could have the tape or the video of that. Oh, no, they don't exist. I asked him if I could get the staff report. There was no staff report. What are we hiding here? Colin did agree to have Omar send me a synopsis of what was discussed prior to the closed session. Come to find out, City of Fountain Valley is negotiating with some homeowners in Lost Cab to buy 14 condo units to be used for low-income housing. I think it's time that you open up the books and you let the community know what's going on. I don't know where I stand on that, but I'd like to hear some of the positive and the negative too. But it is not right to be negotiating for something that we don't know anything about. So I'm asking you tonight to stop the negotiations and schedule a study session to go over these items, and maybe an agenda item to see where the council, I don't know when this decision was made. It must have been made in the back room to go ahead and start the negotiation. 3 of you must have agreed to start the negotiations. If 3 of you didn't agree to start the negotiation, there would be no negotiations. Or maybe staff did it without your input. I don't know, but I ask you at this point, please schedule a study session and let us know what's going on. Thank you.
Katy Wright.
Welcome.
Greetings, mayors. Non-agenda, so I have a couple things I want to mention. One of them is I'm against OCPA. Please reconsider. I never liked being shafted over to it, and I don't like having to remember, and I don't trust the communications that I get. That's enough of that. I also wish you would extend the speaker's time from 3 minutes to 5 minutes. I know it's not ever likely to happen, but hope springs eternal, so I will bring it up. Now, the real reason I'm here. I have an email record. I would like to have it entered into the record if our clerk would be so kind. I'm requesting a breakdown of the billable hours attributed to each of our Fountain Valley City Council members. This was to Rick Miller. And I request a breakdown of billable hours attributable to each individual City Council member for the calendar year of 2025. Thank you, Katy Wright. There we go. And it kind of duplicates as sometimes the chain goes when you get back and forth responses. I got a response from Colin Burns, CC to Maggie Lee, and I don't want to misquote it, and I'm not good at quoting, and there's a long, no, that's okay. There's a long hypothetical and a very well thought out and well written explanation as to why I couldn't get what I wanted. The basic answer, to oversimplify it, is that they don't actually track those things in their record keeping to as far as designated per council member. Sometimes the council member's name may come up in a different item. So if you do like a global search for the name, it'll give you gibberish back. It won't give you actual records of what you're looking for. So he explained to me that they don't currently do that, and that was the answer, was no, you can't have this information. Frankly, as a taxpayer, as someone who likes logic, as someone who thinks it's only fair to ask a reasonable question, I think I should have been able to have gotten an answer to that, but I understand Colin's reasoning. I would request going forward that you all bring it up either at the strategic planning session or subjects for a future consideration. I've heard from various people who work in the city. I know a lot of people in a lot of departments in the city on a first name basis, and it seems that one person is utilizing a lot of the city attorney's time for things that are not necessarily in the best interest of our citizens, and I would like that looked into and have a system developed in the future that can be tracked so anyone can get the answer. Thank you.
On Zoom, we have Dee.
Yes, this is Dee Fox. The Orange County Power Authority promised lower rates and cleaner power than Southern California Edison. And according to the CFO of the OCPA, they are providing neither. Why? Because they have people running this organization that don't know what they are doing. I encourage all of you to either attend or watch their board meetings at ocpower.org. This is not innovation. This is gambling with public money. I hope your city can afford to pay all your utilities through the OCPA because your cost will be significantly higher than you are paying through SCE. Why would you subject your residents to higher rates and with no benefits? Please reconsider joining this organization and do your research. Thank you.
Next speaker is Evan Jorgensen.
Welcome.
Hello. City Council. I'm here to discuss the Charter City initiative that's been presented to us many times. During the discussion by the City Council, there was an analysis that was presented. And in this analysis, it doesn't give any case law, statutory analysis, other cities' audits, or even a consultant report. It's a major red flag. It doesn't really state why we should go this way, and there's no history of this being the case, where it will cost less to be a charter city. In it, there are 4 areas of concern: the planning, housing, with CEQA, zoning, consistency in the general plan. Charter cities must comply with the state housing laws. They must comply with CEQA. They must comply with the general plan law, and they must comply with the consistency requirements. A charter doesn't exempt the city from those. In the public works sections, it lists SB1 pavement reporting. SB1 funding and reporting requirements are state law conditions. The charter status does not change the eligibility rules, the reporting rules, or the audit requirements. Under storm drains, it listed NPDES. NPDES is a federal Clean Water Act implemented through the state and regional governments. Therefore, it doesn't apply to charter cities either. Whatever. And then in the last one, it says police mandated administrative functions. The post assignments, records retentions, DOJ reporting, etc., all remain mandatory. Again, charter status does not change any of this. So on all points, the charter city doesn't change any of it. Also, when this is presented, since it's presented on the screen, this needs to be distributed to everybody that was in the room. It wasn't. This is under Government Code 54957.5, Section A, Item 1. Thank you.
Susan Sonne.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Buena Park City Council member Susan Sonne. Except for a few months, I have been on the board of Orange County Power Authority since its founding in 2020. This year, I'm serving my second year as chair of that board. As the chair of the board, I want to start by saying that I am immensely proud of the work my fellow board members and I are doing together. We are providing the communities we represent with local control over energy decisions, energy choice for every resident and business, and local reinvestment in ways that make a difference for our cities. As a matter of fact, a grant was provided for a Buena Park Middle School for their FFA program. They have the only middle school FFA program in the state, where they have gardens and chickens and a watering system that is solar provided. It's an extraordinary piece of work that these young kids are doing from a small grant from Orange County Power Authority. Having that kind of reinvestment in your community is so important. I'd like to commend Director Grandis for his illuminating questions, his hard work in learning about the complexities of the industry, and his significant contributions to the board. He is a fierce advocate for your community. The OCPA board works with a dedicated staff of around 20 people, not hundreds like the investor-owned utility. They go above and beyond to work directly with our communities, giving personal support and consideration in a way that SCE, with over 5 million customers, does not. This year, the OCPA board has locked 2025 electric generation rates for all of 2026. That was a thoughtful decision that puts our customers first. We are providing customers with stability and predictability on their electricity bills, which are known for being extremely unpredictable. Notably, OCPA generation rates remain low, especially when compared to the average rate over the past few years. In fact, SCE's rates have averaged around 13.7 cents per kilowatt hour over the past 3 years, which is exactly where OCPA rates are. For reasons beyond OCPA's control that are impacting all CCAs across California, OCPA customer bills will be slightly higher at the beginning of 2026 than bundled SCE customers. Not higher than they paid at the end of last year, but higher as in comparison. But this is not permanent, and we fully expect this to correct, especially as the power charge in different...
Susan, your time is up.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's all my day.
Is this a non-agendized item?
Yeah.
Okay. Leston Trueblood?
I only need 30 seconds. Which is giving for me.
Welcome.
First of all, you're going to have to excuse me because I was out for a walk and I dropped by to use the bathroom and realized you guys were having a meeting, so excuse the appearance. My observation this evening is, Ted, how are you? I've noticed that everyone who's come up here to speak this evening with the public really hasn't had your attention. Everybody else has been looking at the people that have been speaking. They've been listening carefully to the people that are speaking. And you, I don't know what you're doing. Are you on the internet? You're not looking at me now, Ted? Is the public not important to you? Why don't you listen to the people and give them your attention instead of staring at your screen or whatever you're doing there? I don't understand this. Maybe you'd like to explain it to us. Thank you.
I have no further comments.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilman Grandis?
so since we had a number of people speaking on OCPA tonight, I have my AB 1234 comment I wanted to bring up on OCPA and to keep them from having to stay for the entire meeting to listen to this. I think it might be appropriate just to give a quick update.
Yes.
So on Monday, January 26th, OCPA had a special board meeting, and I want to provide a couple of details. So at the last meeting I was here, I mentioned that in prior years, OCPA maintained that 3% difference from Edison, and Edison raises and lowers their rates 4 to 6 times a year, and we follow them. So when they go up, we went up. And there were a lot of complaints back in October or November, I forget when the exact date was, when Southern California Edison, I think, went up about 15%, and OCPA went up 12%, or went up the same thing to stay 3% below them. And they kept going up and down. So what we decided as a board was to lock rates that we're charging in 2025. So we are not raising rates in 2026. We're maintaining what they were in 2025. It is true in a point in time that OCPA is now more expensive at this point than Edison. And on these forms that were handed to us, it does show that. And the reason it shows that is during that meeting, we said we must be transparent to everybody on what's going on and where we are at every point in time. And we'll continue this. And you'll see as Edison rates change, we will not. And, you know, at some points we might be a little lower, some points we might be a little bit higher. In order to address the issue of the instability of the pricing going forward. My expectation is that Edison will raise rates in the future. We'll see. If they do, we will not. We'll maintain.
As was mentioned by Chair Sonne, the price over the last 3 years is about the same that you were getting from Edison because of the rate fluctuations and all that. So this is a point in time where we are. It's unfortunate if this point in time if Edison would have raised the rates at the beginning of January instead of lowering it, we wouldn't be having this conversation because we'd be more than 3% less expensive. So all that being said, that was what was discussed. In addition, I've had a conversation with the CEO of OCPA. I've had a brief conversation with our mayor, with our city manager, our public works director. We have too many distractions that are going on in Fountain Valley right now. We have the Charter City survey that's coming out. We have an election in November. In order to communicate OCPA properly to the public, because there's a lot of information, I don't want to say misinformation, because it's how you give that information. There's a lot of bias on one side and the other. So that being said, I don't think that the city of Fountain Valley has the resources or is prepared to join purchasing power for the residents in October of 2026. And at next week's meeting on Monday, we'll be presenting that we're asking for a 6-month, delay, I guess for lack of a better term, until April of 2027. That will give us more time to research everything that's going on. It will give us more time to educate the public without all the other stuff that's going on at the same time. And it'll give us more time to figure out what's next. So with that, I want to make sure it's clear that no contracts have been purchased for Fountain Valley. There's no liability to the residents of Fountain Valley. And that also will be delayed by approximately 6 months. And we'll take a look again. And if it's proper for us to start in April of 2027, we will. If we need further extension, we'll talk about it at that time. So that's my report on OCPA.
Thank you, Councilman Grandis.